Hey, and welcome to another video. In this one, it's going to mostly be a theory, a prediction theory about what's going to happen in FNAF Help Wanted 2, which is coming out in only a few days by the time this video gets posted. But basically, if you don't know, FNAF Help Wanted 2 is a VR game that's basically the sequel to FNAF Help Wanted 1. But so far, all that's been released about it is a trailer and a bunch of random information. So I'm basically going to go over my predictions over what the game is going to be like and what probably is going to happen. There's going to be a little bit where I talk about what I think the lore of this game is going to be, but then it's mostly going to be what I think the game's gameplay is going to be like. So let's start with that. The first Help Wanted game was mostly just different mini games. Mostly there was a lot of recreations of other FNAF games and then mini games. I think this one's going to have a recreation of FNAF's sister location, because in the trailers they showed that there was shots in the trailers of someone in an office that looks a lot like the FNAF sister location office. I got that really mixed up. It's hard to keep track of all the different FNAF games, but because there's a lot of doors, and there's Ballora coming from one of the halls when someone blocks it with the door, and there seems to be a recreation of one of the nights with getting rid of Funtime Freddy with a microphone. So, if that does happen, and it is the FNAF sister location, like the nights, then there's going to be, of course, the dreaded Night 4, which is going to be really horrible in VR, and is going to be extreme pain, but unless they change it and make it a bit easier. But then my theory is they're going to kind of have FNAF 6, because you're shown there's one mini game of someone performing surgery on a Helpy tied down to a chair. And in the little the random information that was talked about it, they said one of the mini games is curing rabies while making sure to keep the patient's screams down, otherwise it would attract unwanted attention. And at a different part in the trailer, there is Scrap Baby coming from one of the halls in that same room. So I think instead of when in FNAF 6, you were supposed to order supplies, unclog toilets, all those things, while also fending off the animatronics. In this, I think it's literally just FNAF not sister location, but FNAF 6. It's basically FNAF 6, except for you have to do surgery on Helpy, which is going to be interesting. There's also that gas mask that was producing gas, which could have something to do with the FNAF Tales from the Pizzaplex book Didophobia, which has a theory. Well, it created a bunch of theories, but it basically talks about a person who's trapped, and they are basically playing FNAF 4, except for all the animatronics, are just hallucinations basically created by a machine dispensing nightmare-causing gas. So there's that little thing thrown in there. But now on to the minigames. There was a bunch of minigames shown. Basically, the different minigames that everyone can assume are going to be in it. Also, it seems there's going to be a lot more minigames in this than the first Help Wanted. And also, it seems like this one's actually going to be, the graphics already look like a much higher quality than FNAF Help Wanted 1. But, so there's the different minigames that look like they could be a part of is basically, they mentioned in the trailer Service to the Stars, where you're putting makeup and repairing the glam rock animatronics. And then there appears to be a minigame where you're making a paper pals with Sun watching over you, and all of these minigames have little timers hidden somewhere in them, presumably meaning that you're going to have to do them in a time limit. Then there's one where you're handing out food to a staff bot in the Pizzaplex, so there's probably a baking-ish one. well, you're making nachos, so not baking, but then there were some other things. There was a Music Man one that appeared that you would have to like create a music. Maybe it would be semi like the Parts and Service where Bonnie Parts and Service where you would have to tune their guitar, but this time you would have to like create a sample of music that would match another sample it's given. Otherwise, Music Man would come out and kill you, which is kind of seeming like what's going to happen. And then there's one where you're repairing this one is pretty heavily implied that it's basically what is going to happen in it. You're repairing a broken down carousel, but moons on the carousel and you have to slow them down. But then there's also one that's a bit of a confusing minigame, but once you think about it enough, it makes sense, is there is an animatronic, like an endo, a glam rock endo, with a VR headset, and you're playing a memory game with them, but in another shot in the trailer, you also see someone grab a camera and flash other glam rock endos with the camera at a different part in that same room. So presumably you're going to be after playing that mini game and then flash the endos so they don't come up and kill you. So there's a lot of mini games. Then there's another one called Bonkabon, which we also know a good amount of information about due to the PAX West booth where they allowed Daco and the channel FNAF to play like an early test build of some of the mini games. Bonkabon's basically a game where there's Bonbon and plush babies and Helpy pop up. If you hit Helpy, you lose a point. If you hit a plush baby, you get 3 points, and if you hit a Bonbon, you get 1 point. But if the plush babies get out, they kill you and jump scare you. So that's most of the mini games covered. There may have been mini games that were shown in the trailer that I forgot to cover, but yeah, you should definitely watch the trailer. There's a lot of random hidden secrets in it. But here's where it starts, where I start theorizing about it. So it seems like it's really in the style of Sister Location and FNAF 6, because there even was a FNAF 6 intro. Like, it had the same intro, kind of, as FNAF 6. And there's those two those two recreations of FNAF 6, possibly, and FNAF 5. So there's a high chance it's going to focus on those ones. And I've also heard some theories of people talking about how there's a high chance that it's like a glitch trap thing, like the game's controlled by glitch trap to basically teach Vanny, like, or trying to like hack into Vanny's brain, because we know that Vanessa was part of the glitch trap cult from FNAF Help Wanted 2, so it could have to do with glitch trap 2, like this one. Help Wanted 2 could also have to do with glitch trap. And there's also theories like you play as Gregory playing a VR game and also getting his mind hacked by glitch trap. So there's a lot of theories. There's no really clear idea of it. There's also a theory that this is a theory I basically have created. I haven't heard much people talking about it. It's kind of bad, but basically it could also be the Mimic learning to do stuff, and you're someone teaching the Mimic almost. Because the Mimic in FNAF, the way the Mimic learns is by watching someone do something and then copying it. Just basically how actual AIs work. So there's parts where like you're playing a mini game with endos, or you're playing stuff and their Mimic's code could be like in that game watching you and noticing how you're playing it and using that to learn and figure out how to act and work. So yeah, that's basically the end of the theory. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe. And if you want more FNAF stuff, there's also right here a thing where I made a parody of a Christmas song, but FNAF, because it's right around Christmas when I put out this, unless you're watching this like years later. But yeah, thank you for watching, and goodbye.